Hi, Erin Johnson here, Outstanding Ohio's most resourceful realtor. And for today's Resourceful Realtor Thursday, we're going to be talking about MLS listing statuses and what they mean. I get a lot of questions about this, so I decided I need to do a video to help explain this. So people will say, oh, I see it's pending. That must mean it's a cash deal. Or I saw they put the sold sign in the yard. That must mean it's sold. Or it's contingent. So that means it must be contingent upon something. And to a degree, that may all be true, but it's most of the time I find that people are wrong or misinformed or misunderstand what they're looking at. So I'm going to try to explain this in a way that you can understand it. And the key is knowing that all this information starts in the MLS. The agents have to choose a status in the MLS, and there's only a handful of options. And that status then, then feeds the other websites you're looking at, whether it's Zillow or Realtor.com or HomeSnap or whichever one you're looking at. It's going to feed downstream to all these other websites. And those websites may call it something else. So that's where I think it gets confusing. But just so you know, what we put in the MLS to understand that, I think is important. So first off, active. It's pretty self-explanatory, but that means the house is listed and it's available for sale. You're probably going to see it on Zillow as for sale, for example. In some cases, the seller may choose to take it temporarily off market, whether they're like on vacation or maybe for the 4th of July weekend or a holiday. They usually it's a temporary amount of time, a couple days, couple weeks, and their intention is to put it back on market after that period of time has passed. But once they do accept an offer, then it's considered under contract or pending. Usually, most offers are going to be contingent upon something, whether it's an inspection, an appraisal, the financing, maybe the sale of another home. The cash deals are going to be cleaner, so there may not be any contingencies or fewer contingencies, but still has to go through a title search and some other stuff. So some stuff needs to happen during this under contract time period. And the deal could fall through. If something happens with one of those contingencies or they uncover something with the title search, it could go back on market and then it would go back to the active status at that point. But if everything goes well, then and at the date of closing, the agreed upon date, the house is going to close, which means the title is transferred, the money has been exchanged, and now the house is officially sold. The buyer owns it as of that date, and the possession date could be a different date, but the buyer now owns that property and it's going to show sold. There are a couple statuses where the house is going to come off the market and is no longer available for sale. One of those is expired. So that simply means the seller signs a listing agreement with the agent to list it for a period of time. And if that date comes and goes at that end of that contract, without the house selling, the listing is going to be expired and it's no longer going to be available for sale. They could, relist it, but at that point it's expired and not available for sale. Or if they choose to remove it from the market for whatever reason, it would show as withdrawn and again, no longer available for sale. So those are the high level understandings of the statuses, but there are two statuses we can choose when we go to put it into this under contract pending. So once an offer has been accepted, we have to choose between under contract allow showings status and under contract no showing status. Now, you can kind of guess what the difference is between these, and it's pretty simple. Either the seller's still allowing showings or they're not. In both cases, the house is considered under contract. That offer has been accepted. The seller is intending to sell the house to that buyer. And they're just working through the details, through the contingencies and all that good stuff. But in the under contract allow showing status, they're still allowing showings. And in the other status, they're not. And the other difference, which is a little bit of a nuance to understand when you're looking at days on market, if it's in the under contract allow showing status, the days on market are going to continue to count the whole time. So if it takes 45 days from under contract until close, it's going to show 45 days on market just for that period, plus however long it was on market before it got under contract. If it's under contract no showings, the days on market count is going to stop once it gets under contract. So if I list today and it gets under contract 2 days from now, it's going to show 2 days on market. Even if it takes another 50 days to close after that, it's going to only show 2 days on market, even though it took 52 days to get from the time they listed it till the time it was actually sold. So a little bit of a nuance to understand when you're looking at days on market. It can be a mixed bag of data because some agents may choose the allow showing status and some may choose the no showing status, and it gets mixed up. So a couple other things to note about these statuses is it does typically take between 30 and 45 days between that time that the offer is accepted and it goes under contract in the closing or the time that it goes to sold. If it's a cash offer, you might be able to, some people can do it in 2 or 3 weeks, but typically you're going to have that period of time. So if the house was just listed today and tomorrow you see a sold sign up on the neighbor's house, it is probably not actually sold. It's probably under contract. And again, depending on the agent and how they want to do things and what signs they have, they may put pending, they may just put closed, they may not update the sign at all. So that's not, when in doubt, you should look in the MLS. The other thing to note is that the status updates can be delayed between the MLS and other websites. So I just looked at a couple today, for example, that showed sold in the MLS, but the Zillow was still showing it as pending. So you're not going to have the most up-to-date information on some of these websites. And the different sites are going to use different terminology for these listings under contract. And I tried to map it up to say, okay, if Zillow says this is what it is in the MLS, and it actually was not clean. So I don't know how they're doing it, but it's not a straight one-for-one translation, unfortunately. And then if it is a temporarily off-market situation, the agents are required to put a back on market date in the broker's remarks, which is something that you as a buyer cannot see, but the agent can. So the moral of this story is check with your agent for the most up-to-date information from the MLS, because they can tell you, what the under contract status is, is it actually under contract or sold, and when is it going to be back on market, and anything else you should want to know. So I hope this helps clear it up. I know it still can be confusing, but when in doubt, check with your agent, and you're always free to give me a call. I can help answer any questions or help you out. 330-227-4355. Have a great Thursday. Thank you.